woke up like this. No, I'm just joking. But it is 6:30 a.m. here in Sydney, and this is when we come to life here, especially as we're coming into our summer. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to What I Eat in a Day. I'm Gina B, and today is going to be all about, I guess, seeing what I eat in a day, a regular day, and not a fun food day, but just so that you can understand kind of how I plate up my food. Let me take a sip of coffee. But first, coffee, always. But yeah, how do I plate up food? What kind of elements I want on every single plate, and essentially what keeps me fueled for my day ahead, because I'm pretty active. I'm about to go teach a class, and pretty much I do that just with some coffee in my belly. And when I come back from class, which is usually around 9:30, 10 a.m., that's when I'm gonna have my first meal of the day. But yeah, basically I just want you to understand that this is not what I'm prescribing, what you should eat, but it's essentially just showing you how to fuel yourself in a really healthy way and keep you satiated, but also be super tasty. So I can't wait to get into the video right now. So breakfast, super important for me, but not necessarily at the time that you may think. So breakfast to me means breaking the fast. And that just means, you know, if I'm hungry in the morning, at whatever time that is, that's when I'm gonna eat. So usually that means for me typically around 10, 11 o'clock, especially if it's a Friday after my class, which is when I'm doing this. Basically that's when I would have around 11 o'clock would be my oats, and these are my proteins. So nearly done with the ingredients, but I'm gonna take you through what I'm having. So proteins for me, I used to be a cereal lover, but I would find myself hungry an hour or two later. So I really added supplementation of a protein powder into my oats, and instead of going for cereals, I'm going for oats because I want to be satiated for longer, lower GI carbohydrates. So adding the protein powder also keeps my blood sugar levels a little bit more leveled out, and also doesn't have that spike when you just have simple carbohydrates. So I'm going to have half a cup of oats to this little bowl over here. A little bit more because get a bit hungry after a workout. Okay, half a cup of oats. Now to this, I'm going to add about a cup, 3/4 to a cup, depends. I want my oats to be covered, but this is the trick, guys, because when you add a protein powder, I don't cook with the protein powder. What really makes the trick is I soak my oats for about a minute in hot water first before I even put them in the microwave. That way they get a little bit more swollen and a little bit more creamier. So let me do that. Gonna get some of that with some hot water. About, yeah, three-quarters of a cup will do for this one. Yeah, that's good. And I just give it a little stir, making sure, look, to be honest, I might add a little bit more. You gotta play around with that to see what works for you. But you wanna make sure that they're all covered, and I'll just let that sit while I dance. As you guys know, I love to dance or walk, getting those calories burnt as I'm eating. No, I don't care about all that stuff. But I really do make sure that that just sits there for about a minute and it swells up, makes it a lot creamier. Okay, so let's wait around. All right, time for the microwave. And I do about a minute before I check on it. The real key is when you're adding protein powder of any kind, you don't want to cook it with the protein powder because it changes the type and texture of that mixture. But you want to make sure that there's enough liquid in there so that when you add the protein powder, it doesn't go rock solid and dry, because that's nasty. So let's put this in. All right, guys, that has been a minute in, and you can see how plump and delicious these oats are. Oats are so good because fiber, that is all I have to say. Fiber is so good for stabilizing those blood sugars. It keeps you feeling fuller for longer and keeps our gut working in check. The only thing with fiber is that it's really important to also drink enough water, and I feel like that's something that is key that we often forget. So as you can see, it's quite watery, and this wouldn't be sort of typically the consistency that you would want to eat it at, but trust me, it is ready. And for a lot of you who would eat oats, you want it to be nice and creamy. So the minute you add a little bit of the protein powder, it's gonna soak up all the extra liquid. So I'm using a plant-based protein powder. I have a blog, I'll put the link below to what protein powder is best for you. But basically, I really don't believe in supplementation because honestly, I find that if I can try and eat enough variety of foods, I can pretty much get most of the vitamins and minerals from foods. But sometimes I need a bit of supplementation. Sometimes I don't feel like eggs for breakfast because that's another go-to of mine. Or sometimes it's Greek yogurt with some berries and banana. So I just find that if I want a bit of protein powder is a great way to go. Plus, they always taste delicious. Chocolate for this one. So I'm gonna add that in and basically just give it a really good stir. Now that is gonna soak up all that excess liquid. It's gonna become chocolatey and goodness, full of goodness. That made better sense. And really you just stir, 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 stir. So yeah, this plant-based protein is one that I love. It's Wellco, but really I just look for ones that have essentially as little ingredients as possible. I do use whey-based proteins as well, so I'm not intolerant in any kind of way, but it's actually a personal preference for taste. And the reason why I use water instead of a milk-based as well is, to be honest, I just find that I would rather spend my calories because for me, calories and your daily budget of energy and what goes in your mouth, I want it to be full of so many other things. I want to get the most out of my day. And so I can't taste the difference when I use almond milk or I use water, but I save a few calories to spend on something else. And perhaps that's more of a treat. And that's the way I view my way of eating. It's like, do I want to spend it on this or do I want to spend it on that? And that's the way I see it. But I try to fit everything in. Okay, so that is ready. Now, I promise you it doesn't look great, but it will taste great. So I'll add to this. I'm just gonna get some frozen berries. Now, frozen berries, I always keep on hand because I find it's budget friendly, and that way you can have berries all year round because they don't have to be seasonal. They're gonna be always captured at the best time. So I'll usually put about a handful and that's plenty, but I always like to pick out and find the raspberries or a strawberry. Yes, so good. I always get berry fingers. And really the reason why I like using frozen berries is because usually this is piping hot and it cools it down and melts the berries at the same time and becomes this chocolatey berry pile of goodness. Like I said, a little bit messy, but full of goodness. Half a cup of oats, a handful of berries, and 1 scoop of protein. And breakfast, it's done. So good. This will keep me going for a few hours. All right, so lunchtime for me usually comes after a few hours. Honestly, breakfast with the oats and the protein and the berries keeps me full for about 3 hours to 4 hours sometimes. And of course, if I'm really stuck at the HQ, just right over there, working with the girls, replying to everybody in the tribe and stuff like that, and working on choreography, often I just get really into my zone and I forget that I'm actually hungry. But it is lunchtime now, so usually a lunch for me is gonna be a pretty light meal because I like to have a little bit of a bigger dinner. So today I've opted for a salad, but sometimes that may be a wrap filled with a protein and some veg and some healthy fats. Or it might be maybe a couple of pieces of sushi if I'm on the run, but tends to be a salad is quite a frequent thing for me to have. I guess what I want to say is that the key elements to most of my plates, as in my meals, is that I have a little bit of carb, a little bit of protein, lots of veggies if I can, and fiber, and some fats. So that all, I like to have a bit of everything because that's really what keeps me satiated. I have done the elimination game for a very long time, a long time ago, before I lost 50 pounds, which is 25 kilos. Yo-yo dieting was my best friend. So after I made that change and that shift to basically having a flexible way of eating, but making sure that I really just watch my portions and keep moving. And movement for joy, eat for pleasure, but making sure that I just eat a right amount for me. So that's going to be different for everybody. But when I got into that headspace, basically I just focused on how I could include pretty much all the macronutrients into every single meal. So I'm gonna have a salad that's filled with some carbs, some protein, lots of veg, and a little bit of fats as well. So it's gonna be a tuna, bean, beetroot salad, which is just super delicious. So I'm gonna get my bowl, and I don't know about you, but I see a lot of people putting little bowls and their salads in there, and the salad always overflows, so I like to eat from a really big bowl. So don't be afraid to have a big bowl, okay guys, because that way everything stays easy, and especially when you want to mix in all the dressing. So I'm going to have a cucumber, and I usually just grab like a handful of cherry tomatoes because I love cherry tomatoes. The other thing I'm gonna add to this is some beetroot. And this is the beetroot that's more like a natural beetroot that I get in my grocery store. So you might need to look into what you can find available. Of course, there's canned beetroot, but I find this one just has a little bit less sugar as well in it. It's pretty much just the beetroot, roasted and whole. So I'm not gonna have all this beetroot, probably like 2 pieces or something like that. I'm going to have spring water tuna. There are different kinds of tuna that you can get everywhere, but I like to have it in spring water, because I just don't need the extra calories from the oil, which is often like a canola or a vegetable oil, whereas I'm pretty much like to focus on really good quality oils like olive oil. So I would rather drain it, have just the tuna, and use my own oil as a dressing as an additional. And then these are so cute because they're already portioned out. They're little 4 bean mixes in a little can of about 125 grams. And so I feel like this is a really good serving size because often you get the cans and you don't know how much to have. So this is about 125 grams of mixed beans. So like chickpeas, kidney beans, I think cannellini as well. And yeah, lima beans, butter beans, lots of different things. So what's next? No, we're not going, oh yeah, we are going to the fridge. We're going to get some baby spinach and rocket. So for all you US American peoples, that's arugula. And so I like to have like a handful of each into these. These are already pre-washed and pre-prepared. Personally, I like to use these just because I know it is single-use plastic and I try to eliminate as much of that as possible. But for convenience, I either buy sometimes I can, if it's available, I'll buy it loose and put it into a little bag. But often if I don't get them in like these types of portion sizes, I just won't buy them at all. So for me, getting my veg into my body is really important. So whatever way and whatever means that means, I do it. So I'm gonna add about a handful. I don't really calorie count how much rocket I have because, to be honest, it's something that's super low calorie and it's really filling. So I'll have about a handful of that. I shall have, this says a serving size of 2 for this little packet. So that would just mean like half the packet for me of mixing in, maybe a little bit more. And I'll just mix that all together so that way it's already all mixed in. I'm gonna cut up the veg, and we've got our dressing as well, and salt and pepper. And actually, I've even got some parsley, which will be really nice as a little garnish. Little missing rocket right there. So, like I said, I'm trying to get healthy fats, and I'm trying to get good carbs because the carbs so legumes are carbs and protein, but predominantly carbohydrates. So that's my carb source for this. My protein source is my tuna, and my veg is there. My healthy fats from my olive oil, and good veg everywhere. All right, guys, while I cut this, all right, guys, so we're gonna do 1 tablespoon of dressing of olive oil. I like my olive oil. That's where I get my healthy fats from. So this is it turns out to be a really big salad because you'll find that the leaves will, basically take up most of the real estate on this bowl. And basically I'll just mix it in, salt and pepper, but I'm gonna get a little bit fancy, and you know what? Herbs go a long way, fresh herbs, and I'm gonna add some fresh parsley to this as well. So salt and pepper are just generous helping for me. I don't have any issues with salt personally, but if you do, maybe that's something you need to watch. But I will add a attack of my fridge and pull out all sorts of things. I do not need a spring onion in here, but I'm going to just add pretty much just a handful of parsley and cut it up. The one I get from the store is kind of already cleaned, so you probably would need to just clean that, but essentially I'd sprinkle that all over. And guys, that's lunch. You know what? It doesn't take a lot of time to have a really healthy, filling lunch. That may even, depending on your caloric goals, that might even be for 2 people. But if I'm really hungry, that's just gonna be for moi. So I think I'm gonna go do some more work. This will take me through for at least another 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours even. And then it'll be time for dinner, and we're gonna have a special surprise for that one. Okay. Alrighty guys, I have pulled my fellow team member from Up to the Beat, Katie, our budding nutritionist, who has come up with so many of our recipes from our blog, and she has done this one. This is our chicken satay. Quickest weeknight meal ever. One of my go-tos at least once a week. This serving makes 4 portions. So another thing I love doing, especially if you guys aren't into prep, because often you think prep takes a lot of time, it doesn't have to. One simple hack is make double serving so that you've got a lunch or an easy second night dinner. Yes, it's repetitive, but it's gonna get you on point and on your goals and keep you in check. So we've got 1 cup of capsicum. That was actually about one big capsicum. I've got about 125 grams of snow peas, or a cup of snow peas roughly. There are about 2 carrots here. Broccolini is one of my favorites, not broccoli. I find broccolini is just a little bit more delicate, right? Like it's just a little bit nicer. So we're gonna use that for the green veg there. And we have green onion, which is our shallots. Super, super easy. All the veg here, nice and colorful. Eating the rainbow is what I'm all about, right? Okay, here we have 500 grams of chicken breast. It's a much leaner option to thigh, saving a few calories here, but you're also gonna have a good source of protein. And I've sliced this up. Now 500 grams is, what is that? 1 pound, 1 pound, just for all the people in North America. Okay, so we're gonna go through our delicious sauce. So Katie, this is my favorite. What is this?
This is peanut butter, of course, our favorite ingredient.
Yep, and this is about a tablespoon and a half?
Yep, a tablespoon and a half.
Okay, and why do we love peanut butter? What else can it give us?
It can give us the protein, it's got good fats, and it's just a great addition to
and gives us a lot of flavor and the creaminess. And that's how we can get a satay without a lot of different types of sauces, right? Okay, to give us a sweetness to balance the flavors, what are we using here?
So we're using some honey here. This is a tablespoon.
Yeah, I think so. But it's going to give us that natural sweetness, but it is still sugar. But again, this is 4 portions. So think about a tablespoon between four portions is like nothing. So of course we're going to get our aromatics.
Yeah, so garlic and ginger, that will just give it lots of flavor, and it's just really delicious as well. I love garlic in everything.
Oh, so do I. But you know what? I think it's so important, like, you know, a lot of Asian style recipes have a lot of different sauces, and often they're filled with like MSG and stuff like that. So if we can use a lot of the aromatics, like your own garlic pressed and ginger, grated ginger, you will find instant boosts of flavor without even adding much at all. Okay, and here, what do we have?
And so here we've got tamari, and this is a great option if you're gluten-free. So, and it's a little bit less sodium as well, so less salt.
Ooh, that's good, even though we don't have salt problems, but if you do, it is so important to keep on top of that. And I love tamari, it's a little bit lighter.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like it's not as dark soy, but you know what, if you like soy sauce, you could also use soy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're just gonna have a teaspoon of sesame oil. Is that more just for
flavor? Yeah.
Do you actually cook with this, or do we still cook with olive oil?
Yeah, no, we still cook with sesame oil.
Okay, so we're going to cook with the sesame oil, but are we going to just use a bit of spray of olive oil spray, because that's just going to keep it really sparing?
Yeah, and coat the pan. That's
cool. All right, so that is the ingredients. Now let's get to it. Let's see how quickly we can whip this up for you. So browning the chicken first with some salt and pepper, then I'm gonna put that to the side, and then we're gonna do the veggies. So just keeping it separate, it's a better way to cook, I think, the whole thing. Okay, chicken's going to the side. Katie's gonna respray so we can do some aromatics first, and then all the veggies are gonna go in all together. So while Katie is smoking up the joint with her stir fry, I'm gonna make sure that we get the sauce whisked up. So even though we had it all in little separate containers for you, basically that was just to show you what it all looks like, but you gotta mix it all together. So I'm just mixing the sesame oil with all that peanut butter, get all of it in. The honey. Now a good trick here is actually to put a bit of oil on the container or on your spoon, so that way the honey just comes out. So always do the sesame oil first. Then the tamari goes in, and basically that's the sauce, and then you just want to whisk that a little bit and make sure that it's all kind of mixed in nice and creamy while Katie's doing that, so that when basically this will go in, we'll return the chicken to the pan with the veg and then drizzle all that over, and that is it. I'm gonna finalize that recipe with adding the shallots in, but essentially this is the base for our version of the satay. Now this is not a traditional satay, this is just the healthier version of it with as little ingredients as possible. Because I don't know about you, but for me, making something during the week has to be quick, simple, as less ingredients as possible. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Usually this will be at about another 5, what do you think?
15?
I was way off. 15 minutes maybe, just to saute. And I guess also you probably want to cook the sauce off a little bit, yeah?
And the chicken through.
And the chicken through. So yeah, not 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Gina, get it right. All right guys, so we're gonna finish this off and then it's gonna go into our bellies. So guys, before we tuck into this super delicious dinner, I told you how quick it was. I'll also add half a cup of basmati rice to my portion, but a half a cup to a cup is probably a good range. What about for you? What do you?
Yeah, half a cup's plenty.
Yeah, and basically that's just gonna give me that carbs, proteins, fiber, veg, everything. I want to have a very balanced plate here. There's still 2 portions left for you guys as leftovers, and we're just going to dig into this. But before we do, I want to just quickly show you what a really good go-to dessert, because who doesn't love dessert? I am a huge fan, and often I want just something a little bit sweet to tie me over, and basically that is going to be do you think I have enough chocolate in my fridge? But this is dark chocolate, so I like to have anything above 70%. I usually only have a portion size, which is 1 single serving. It's about 2 squares, and I'll usually have that with a bit of herbal tea, maybe after dinner. I just feel like I need that sense of sweetness, but it's really good, still keeping within my caloric budget. What about you? What is your favorite flavor?
I love the Lindt, especially with some peppermint tea. Oh, it's the best at the end of the day.
Or you could just go for the peppermint flavored.
Oh, I might have to.
So guys, that is what I eat in a day. If anything, that's pretty much 3 meals and a dessert. I may throw in a snack. That might just be some Greek yogurt and a berry or an apple and a handful of nuts, but depends, because sometimes my meals are good enough to go. It's gonna vary for you, so don't necessarily use my take of how I eat in a day, but it's just to give you a bit of source of inspiration, I think, and sometimes that's what we lack, right? Yeah. So if you guys want to see more stuff from Katie and me in Gina's Cucina and anything else that you want to see, don't forget, give us comments below. Let us know what you want, because this awesome nutritionist, budding nutritionist, is full of goodness and wants to share all of her nutritional knowledge with us And so I can't wait to see what you guys want. So don't forget, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you for another feast, another day. Bye for now. So good.